Oh. Present. Oh.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the starlight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight all the ramparts we held were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets rattling, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right shoulder. Hard. Colors turn. Hard.
See of action, oh so brave, thank you for your service, you are so strong, we remember, on this day, fighting for our freedom, we thank you.
I'd like to thank our guest speakers once again, our Vietnam Veterans of America, for coming out today. Let's have a huge round of applause for them. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank our leaders, our base leadership, for coming here, Colonel Craddock, Colonel Guerra, and Chief Hernandez. Let's have a huge round of applause for their involvement and support today.
Thank you. I don't like standing behind a microphone, so I'm going to walk in front of you and talk today, all right? But I want to start with a quick story. Anybody heard of a man named Billy Graham? Yeah, so he's a very famous man that goes around the world and gives a lot of speeches. And one time, Billy Graham decided he wanted to buy a horse. Now, Billy Graham didn't know anything about horses, but he wanted a horse, so he went out and bought a horse. And the horse that he bought was an old mare. All right, so not a very fast horse, not a very strong horse. But Billy Graham bought this horse, and he liked this horse. Now, Billy Graham knows a lot of people, and he's really popular. So Billy Graham went to the people that ran the Kentucky Derby. Do y'all know what the Kentucky Derby is? Yeah. It's a very important horse race. The fastest horses in the world come and see who can win a race when they race against each other. So Billy Graham went to the people at the Kentucky Derby, and he said, I've got a horse, and I want my horse to race in your race. Now, the people who own the Kentucky Derby, they like Billy Graham, and they wanted to help him out. But this horse did not qualify to run in their race, so they asked Billy, they said, Billy, do you think that your old mare has any chance of winning a race in the Kentucky Derby? And Billy Graham just laughed, and he said, why, no, my horse isn't that's why he wanted his horse to join the Kentucky Derby, and that's why I'm excited to be here today, because this old mare likes to hang out with these amazing Americans that y'all just heard from, and the outstanding people that y'all are today. So thank y'all for allowing me to be here today to talk to you for just a moment. And thanks to Mr. Utuck and his awesome staff, Ms. Cope, Ms. Wadsworth, and Ms. Peckham for allowing us to be here today just to get to talk to y'all. And a special thanks to these great gentlemen up here, Mr. Weik, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Scott, who gave y'all a few minutes of time to talk to y'all, because it is a great honor for me anytime I'm around these amazing veterans that have served before me. Now then, in America we have two main days where we like to honor the women and men who serve in our armed forces. The first was Memorial Day. So Memorial Day is that last Monday in the month of May, where you all get a 3-day weekend, you don't have to come to school, right? But Memorial Day is about honoring all of our service women and our service men who have died in service. Okay, now it's a lot of times on that day that people will come up to veterans and thank them for their service. And that's a good thing, because we should always be thanking our veterans for their service. But Veterans Day, that's the day where we really honor and memorialize those who have gone before us and served, and those who are currently serving. Now Veterans Day, we honor it on November 11th every year, right? And it started off as Armistice Day. And Armistice was when we finally stopped fighting in World War I. The end of the war didn't happen until later, as you guys know. Y'all are great scholars and you study hard in history, and you know the end of World War I was not until June 28th of 1919. But the first Armistice Day, the time when the Axis and the Allies powers stopped fighting, right, was on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. So November 11th. Every November 11th, we pause and we honor every veteran who has served before us and every veteran who is currently serving. And that is what Veterans Day is all about. So we celebrated earlier this week, but I'm honored that I get the opportunity to stand in front of y'all today and talk about these great Americans who got to serve. Now, these were ordinary women and ordinary men who voluntarily raised their hand and said, I want to go serve my country. I want to be part of something bigger and better than me. And I want to defend the freedoms that this country represents. They didn't do it seeking fame or glory. They certainly didn't do it to get rich. What they wanted to do is they wanted to protect this country, and that's what they did. But it's not just those folks that have gone before us, it's the folks that are still serving today. So all of the women, all of the men in the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Army, and of course, the United States Air Force, as well as the Coast Guard. They're also veterans, and they're serving today. They're serving around the world. They're serving as we speak in far corners of the globe. Again, not to seek fame or glory. They are out there doing their best to defend our freedoms and defend this country. And it's very, very important. But it's not just the folks who are currently serving, it's their entire support network. It's the community. It's awesome schools like this that take care of the families, and it's the families themselves. It's each and every one of you. So I know most of you have a mother or a father that is currently serving right now. And I know that requires a lot from you. So on Veterans Day, I like to thank each and every one of you as well for your service. Because I know your parents have missed birthdays. They've missed holidays. They haven't been there when you lost a tooth or when you came home with a report card that had straight A's on it. I know there are times you scraped your knee in school and you came home and you wanted mom or dad to be there and they weren't. Because they were either at work doing some hard work taking care of our freedoms, or they were serving abroad for long periods of time. And that's the key. It's time. It's time that folks put on this uniform and go serve their country and they're not. So thank you for your service, because that's also very, very important to me and what we do. Because back in World War II, we had about 10% of Americans who served in some form or fashion in the United States Armed Forces. That's 1 out of every 10 Americans who served. As we move on to Vietnam, that number dropped to about 7%. So 7 out of every 100 were out there serving. During the Gulf War just recently, it dropped down to 1%. That's only 1 out of every 100 Americans that is actually putting on a uniform and serving their country. And right now, as we speak, 0.4%. That's 1 out of about 200 people in America that are out there wearing a uniform. So the burden of keeping this country free and protecting our freedoms is falling on a smaller number of people, which again means it's falling on you. But it's very, very important about what we do. So we are out there again defending freedom, defending democracy, defending all the freedoms that we stand up for. People that put on this uniform, we give up some of those freedoms so that we can go help and protect and defend others. Defend the people who can't take care of themselves. And that is what we do. We put on this uniform and raise our right hand and we swear to support and defend the Constitution. Y'all know what the Constitution is? Yes, it's an awesome document. And And that's what we're doing. We're defending the Constitution and we're defending freedom. What freedoms do we have that it says in the Constitution? Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to assemble, right to bear arms, freedom to get educated. And that is what y'all are here to do, get educated to help support this country. Because we need you. We need you to study hard. We need you to focus on understanding why this country is so great, what those freedoms mean to us, what that freedom means to all of our friends and allies in this world who are around the globe right now taking care of and protecting us. We need you to study hard and figure out how to become something bigger and better than just yourself, how you can give back to the community. Because we need y'all to grow up and be that next generation, that next wave of awesome Americans who are making this country better, continuing to propel our freedom and our democracy across the globe to help those in time of need. So thank you so very much for allowing me to be here today. Just an old mayor that likes to hang out with the thoroughbreds. Happy better. Thank you.
Good. You ready for the air show?
No.
So am I. This is a good time when everybody gets to see what mom and dad and uncles and aunts and so on does that you hear and see all the time. It's kind of cool when you can go over there and actually see them and almost touch them, huh? Well, I served over in Vietnam as well. I was with the United States Army. I worked with what they call long-range reconnaissance. It's a big word, right? A lot of walking. I worked with some of your guys who flew the Blackbirds. The one I worked with was called the Dragon Lady. The Dragon Lady took a lot of pictures, but their cameras weren't as good as the cameras we have today. So we had to go out there and verify if they had a spot on their camera or if it was really some of the enemy moving around. As you can tell, they said I got a Purple Heart. I didn't always duck when I was supposed to, but I'm happy I'm able to talk about, the good things that took place over there as well as some of the bad things. The bad things is a lot of people didn't come home. You probably all heard about the wall that's down in Washington. There's a lot of names there, so our organization tries to help keep their memory alive, so that when young people like yourself knows that, Vietnam was just another generation of veterans who went and did their duty to help keep our freedom alive and well. And one of the people that always came to my rescue whenever I needed help was the Air Force. I could always count on them when I got into a tight spot, that they would have a bird somewhere in the general vicinity, and within a couple of minutes, they were there to help get me back home safe. So the people that you have here taking care, doing flight control, flying the jets, They play a vital part in the service. You should be very proud that you have a family member that serves for the Air Force.
Good morning, everyone. Hey, thank you for letting us come today. And as Neil said, I served in the Army. I took Rob's 20 years and added a couple. I did military police for 23 years. And once again, I want to thank you guys and thank your moms and dads and uncles and cousins, because we're all family. We're all a big family. And the Air Force, just one of the parts, and they saved my bacon a couple times. I was military police. I served 2.5 years in Vietnam. Yes, it was very scary. And there was some good times and some bad times. I did arrest bad people, and I had to help good people.
California, I knew what an earthquake was like, and I asked somebody, where do we go for an earthquake? And they said, earthquake, hell, that's B-52 is dropping 1,000-pound bombs 2 miles away. Don't worry about that.
Oh, wow.
I was only in the Marine Corps for active duty 3 years, but I did spend a portion of that time over in Vietnam. Actually, being here today reminds me of boot camp, because I went to Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego, which happens to be right across the fence from the San Diego airport. So in the middle of our drills and other things, all of a sudden a jet would go over. We would miss our commands, and that was a problem, which of course was our fault, not the DI's. So brings back memories being here. At the time that I went into the Marine Corps, it was a total volunteer force. It wasn't, you could not be drafted into the Marine Corps, but I volunteered to go into the Marine Corps, and well, because they had the nicest uniforms, I guess. I don't know what else to say. I spent the first 2 years of my duty stationed at Camp Pendleton, California. It was required that 3 of the corporals in my operation were required to go over to Vietnam. There were only 4 corporals that had my MOS. They told the 4 of us to decide which 3 were going to Vietnam. I looked at the other 3 guys, and they were all married. I was single. I said, well, I should go. And Kaiser, his wife was pregnant. I said, I think he should be here for the birth of his child. So the other 3 of us volunteered to go to Vietnam. I spent the remainder of my enlistment in Vietnam, and I was working in a facility just outside of Tonsanut Air Base. And so again, many times during the day we heard the jets taking off and landing.